way. So by December of 1944, the German army runs out of gasoline.
War is just business. You need to buy things to do war.
We wait for the clouds to lift, and then we can just pick off their tanks with airplanes. Or, since they don't have gasoline, you just give a guy a grenade bundle. He walks up and puts it on the back of the tank. Boom. Right? So like the tank can drive away. We decide right then and there, we never want to be that guy that's winning a war. Germany wasn't winning by any means, but at least could win a battle maybe, and then runs out of gasoline. We decide right then and there, that's going to be whomever we fight next. When we fight World War III, that guy's going to run out of oil.
They also just made it so you need US dollars to buy oil. So if you want to go to war with the United States, which requires oil, you need US dollars, which requires you support our economy. Business is abstract warfare.
So, Franklin Delano Roosevelt goes to Egypt. He goes to Egypt and he gets on a ship in the Suez Canal in Egypt. And he meets with the King of Saudi Arabia on a ship in the Suez Canal in January of 1945. And Franklin Delano Roosevelt and the King of Saudi Arabia work out a deal. This is a fantastic deal for everyone if you're Saudi and American, but nobody else. And here's the deal. Saudi Arabia will forever supply the United States with oil without interruption. We promise. They promise. In return, we promise we will protect the Saudi royal family from all threats, internal or external, forever.
So this is upsetting if you're someone who believes that the world is all kumbaya and like, why don't we just have like a liberal utopia yet? Because the United States is the only country on the planet that believes in freedom. 99.99% of our population are still mentally serfs and incapable of thinking for themselves. And we have the only population that has any membership greater than 12 individuals of people who actually care about improving their lives, thinking critically, reading history, and taking massive action, as evidenced by the fact that every person capable of doing those things has moved here and then found me and met me and talked to me. Not actually all of them, but I constantly talk to immigrants who moved to the United States from every other country in the world because we're the only country that is even slightly not completely homicidally opposed to progress. Like, being very specific, the United States having the American Revolution is the only reason why there are democracies on planet Earth. That's it. And that was a hard-won battle, and we're still fighting it financially because the city of London is still the banking capital of the world. Business is abstract warfare.
That's the deal. So if Saudi Arabia has a democratic movement, we will help them overthrow it. Like they want to get rid of the monarchy, we will help them kill those protesters. That's the deal we make with the Saudis. By the way, there's no such thing as Saudi Arabia, any more than there's Obama America. Saud is the name of the royal family. It's the Saudi royal family. Arabia is the name of the country. The fact that we call it Saudi Arabia is really amazing. It would be like Windsory, England. Right? What? Since when do royal families get their name attached to a country? This is how much power they insist they have. That Arabia is Saudi. End of story. That royal family can never change because the country's name would have to change. Isn't that wild? We also were given rights to have an air base and that we would be allowed to create Aramco, Arabian American Oil Company. Today it's called Saudi Aramco because the Saudis wanted to make sure we understood who really owned it. But it was really just Aramco. So if you hear people go Saudi Aramco, So
by necessity, the United States government is only a tool to allow powerful individuals and royal families, be they American royal families or Saudi, to negotiate. So if you want a better America, you must simply become like the Saudi royal family, because those are the sorts of people that the United States of America does deals with. Everyone else they oppress on behalf of the other royal families they did deals with. That's how Rome worked. That's why Rome insisted on truth. Because when the Saudis sit down with the Bushes, sit down with the Trumps and the Clintons, they're all going to make sure that they're talking about facts, because if they're not, they have to go back to murdering each other in a faster and more aggressive manner, and they're negotiating to avoid that. So the only thing that produces truth in the entire world is powerful people who would otherwise kill each other negotiating for profits.
Originally Aramco. The air base and Aramco will be headquartered at Zahran in Saudi Arabia on the eastern shore. Eventually, our relationships with Saudi Arabia is going to get complicated. It's going to get really messy, right? Which is why sometimes I see people in the audience bristle when I say, we're going to protect the Saudi royal family forever, or they're our very good ally. They are. They love us, we love them. They hate us, we hate them. We're like married, right? That's what that looks like. And here's why it's going to get complicated. It gets complicated almost right away. And it has to do with our support for Israel. So if you missed last week where we talked about that, I'll just do sort of the nutshell thing. So after World War II,
the Jews are a powerful group insofar as they are a group, and insofar as they are a group must be negotiated with and treated as such. And insofar as they are a group, I would like us to negotiate and make deals with that aspect of the group that supports the raising of healthy children.
Palestine, the UN decides to divide Palestine into a secular state that'll be called Palestine, and then a Jewish state for Jewish people only state called Israel. And what ends up happening is the Arabs go, no deal. The Zionists owned about 5% of Palestine, but they were going to get 55% of the land. And the Palestinian Arabs say no. The Israelis, about 40,000 extremely well-trained soldiers, then invade Palestine and conquer it and take it over using violence.
So what did I just say? I just said that weak people get pushed aside and powerful people get negotiated with. So now Israel's going, no, you misunderstand. I'm not one of those weak people you push aside. I'm one of the powerful people you negotiate with. And they prove it by committing mass murder and stealing land. And then the world rewards them by letting them keep the land. The world does not work the way you were taught by your liberal school teachers. The kingdom of heaven is set upon by the violent, and the violent take it by force. That's a quote from Jesus. You guys got to grow some balls. Like, all of us collectively need to grow some serious balls and read the book of Deuteronomy, because I bet you those Israelis who took that land were reading the book of Deuteronomy. It's about conquest of the promised land. Go read it. It is about how God tells the Israelites to take the promised land by force. You must be capable of force and violence, or you're Palestinian. Like, do you get how the world works yet? Subscribe if you haven't already. I'm going to be making more videos like this to educate people on how the world actually works, because people aren't, whatever. Back to the video.
And terror. One of the original things they do is they do this attack called Deir Yassin, where they go in with machetes and just hack the Palestinians to pieces, and then basically drive the Palestinian population out. Palestinian population, some of it disperses, right? There's about 6 million Palestinians living outside of Israel and Palestine, and then today there's about 7 million living inside Israel and Palestine, about 3.5 million in the West Bank, 1.5 million in Gaza Strip, and 2 million Palestinians living in Israel. That's going to create a lot of tension between the United States and Saudi Arabia, because the Saudis are going to say, why are you doing this? Why are you supporting a Jewish-only state in the Middle East at the expense of Christian and Muslim and Jewish Arabs?
It's real simple. It's for the reasons I just said, because those people were capable of extreme violence, plotting, and death. Who do you want for allies? Do you want the people who just killed a bunch of people? Or do you want the people going, save me?
It doesn't make any sense to us. And this is what happens. World War II ends, and a horrible decision is made by the world community. And this decision is that Germany must pay the Jews reparations. That's actually not a horrible decision. That kind of makes sense, right? The Germans do this really hideous thing. It only makes sense that the victims of this hideous thing should be paid reparations. That part makes sense. The stupid part, the bad part, the horrible decision is the world doesn't know how to distribute this to the victims. Really, you couldn't just figure out who survived the concentration and death camps? And so the world decides that Germany should hand the money over to Israel. Israel will act on behalf of the Jewish population. And it's billions of dollars. I forget the exact amount. It's tens of billions of dollars that Germany will just simply hand over to Israel. Germany has no choice in the matter, of course, but they feel awful about it. They feel awful about it for two reasons. One, the money isn't now going to go to the victims. It's going to go to this new state that just conquered Palestine. Right? So another crime against humanity, it's funded by the Germans, so the Germans are involved in another crime against humanity, but this time they're not willing participants.